Welcome back. Stocks begin the second half with a good amount of momentum. Can it last is the question. Let's ask Abby Yoder. She's chief equity strategist at JPMorgan Private Bank. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
You were pretty bullish, I think, the last time you were here, a handful of weeks ago. I think you still are, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, we were talking about this, and I was mentioning our bull case, which has the S&P at around 7,000 in the middle of next year. And it seems like we have a lot to learn over the month of July, I would say, between earnings, between policy, like what's really going on in terms of the background, tariffs, obviously. But that 7,000, that bull case seems like relatively plausible, right? If you get this, and not just based on momentum, but based on real fundamental strength, right? From a margin perspective, from an earnings perspective. So, we remain really optimistic at the moment.
So the tax bill that we're watching, you think is better growth than people are even anticipating, that earnings are going to be much better than current estimates are forecasting, that tariffs aren't going to ultimately be as bad and the bite of them is not going to hurt the economy? Yeah,
I mean, I think when we're thinking about earnings expectations right now, so look, when companies were reporting last quarter, they were kind of operating under this worst case scenario in terms of tariffs, right? So when they gave guidance for 2Q, you saw estimates really meaningfully revised down, something like 4.5%, 5%, when they're typically revised down something like 3.5%.
Even if you could give guidance, right?
Right, exactly. Even if you could give guidance, but they tried, right? They really did. They tried to put a framework around it. And I think so when you think about, we think about the macroeconomic data that hasn't been showing the effects of tariffs, it's probably likely that we also don't see that come through in company results, which means upside.
So IPO markets picked up?
Yeah.
M&A is going to pick up. Are we going to be talking about animal spirits in a way we thought we would in January and we just couldn't because of the whole trade stuff?
Well, that's what we were talking about when we were talking about this bullish scenario last time. It really was all of the focus was on the negative policies. It wasn't on those growth positive policies that were still in the pipeline. And we really have started to see that deregulatory agenda come through. We got the stress test last week. We got, some more bank reform on at the margin. And I think with markets back near all-time highs, you've also seen the IPO market pick up as well.
We're back with Abby Yoder. I mean, this says everything about market conditions getting better.
Everything. I mean, and also I think when you, not only are IPOs coming back, but you've seen really good follow through in terms of performance of those IPOs, which obviously begets better sentiment as well. I would say the other thing, and we talked about this last time, what was really predicating or underlying that bull case was around the adoption of AI. And we've really seen that across enterprises, right? So last year at this time, around 5% of companies were using AI. Now that's almost doubled to 9%. And it's really seen an inflection higher in the first half of the year. So I think as they start to see, revenue, the case for revenue increases as well as cost-cutting measures, I think that really bodes well for the market as well.
You like the financials as a group, which have been at record highs? I mean, whether it's your firm, JPM, or Goldman, all anticipating just better conditions, deal-making, deregulation, good economy, everything else.
I mean, this is going to be the first time in, let's say, 15 years that we see regulation easing for this sector, right, as opposed to incrementally getting worse, particularly relative to, the past 2 years. And if you look back in the first Trump administration, bank stocks outperformed for the first 2 years. It wasn't until 2018 when the actual legislation was enacted did they start to underperform. So it's really one of those things that we see continuing throughout the year. Good.